Good afternoon, folks. It's Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Today, let's talk about Yonkers corruption and the trial of 2012. A former Yonkers councilwoman and the one-time leader of the city's Republican Party were found guilty Thursday, March 29th, 2012, of corruption. Let's talk about corruption, folks. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Happy. Good afternoon.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
I am Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Fastest growing podcast here in Westchester County, Yonkers, New York. I like to think so. And why is that important? Because the more people know about basement politics, the more people will know about the corruption in politics. Folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez. Thank you for joining me if you are. Thank you for supporting. Good afternoon. Buenos dias. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics, if you don't already know. I want to talk about this afternoon, I want to talk about the corruption trial of 2012. And I have mentioned this before. I did. And I wanted to mention it again. But I also wanted to be a little more detailed, more specific than I was the last time. And it's also important to continue to, speak about it, right? Repetition builds memory. And we must always know what happened in the past if we are to be successful in our future. History will and has repeated itself many times before and will continue to do so. So we must learn about the past. And I enjoy looking back into the history of Yonkers politics. Let's talk about the trial of 2012, the corruption trial. In the 2012 corruption or conviction of a former councilwoman, I should say, Sandi Annabi, and former Yonkers GOP chairman, Zehy Jereis, currently sued me for $1 million, by the way, in an attempt to shut me down. So what do you want to do? Shut me down, right? And he wants to shut me down and shut me up, right? And from discussing what, actually, it's really public, right? It's all public information, and from discussing some of the things that he and I spoke about, right? We spoke in person and over the phone several times. Right. It didn't take place, or it didn't take me a long time, I should say, in meeting with Zehy, because we didn't meet a lot of times. I didn't speak to him as often as I would speak to Vinny Spano. In fact, our little, time of knowing each other and communicating was quite short. But it didn't take me long to realize the man is a snake in the grass. Well, I came to know that in, the first meeting, really, to be honest, the first meeting. And I like to meet people first before I make, people have said that. They said, Freddy, you got to watch these snakes. So I went into it knowing kind of what people were saying, but I like to get to know people right before I have my own opinion. I formulate my own opinion. So I wanted to meet the man, right? So there is truth to what people were saying on this one, especially. The people were right. All it seems, but many of our elected officials who have come to learn the hard way or have yet to learn, who will eventually, didn't learn as quickly as I did. The man the man was sent to jail for 4 years, federal prison, right? And he managed to bring down people with him along the way. Everyone he's around, he surrounds himself, everything that he almost touches, one person was saying, turns to shit. That's what someone said. Right? He's like a cancer, he's like a plague. And he's brought a lot of people down. Yet and still, individuals continue to engage him, get involved with him, build a relationship with him, run campaigns with him. Why? History will and has repeated itself, and we must learn from the past. Maybe some believe him. I don't know. Maybe some of those people he took down believed him, and they were led astray by, as one judge likened Mr. Jereis to, the devil. Well, Well, is what Zehy Jereis did to former Yonkers City Councilwoman Sandi Annabi any different than the serpent whispering into the ear of the greatest creation God has ever made, the woman, and seducing the woman with his tongue? That's what Zehy Jereis has done time and time again. Time and time again. While Sandi may have not directly disobeyed, our wonderful creator God after being seduced by Zehy's tongue, right? Zehy did influence her and overpowering and hypnotizing her into doing things that maybe she might not have done. And in trial, she later admitted that she realized what she'd done was wrong, right? Zehy is very influential. He's very manipulative. And people told me that. I said, be careful. You speak to him, he may, he'll tell you, he'll convince you that the sky is red. But is that what happened with Sandi Annabi? Is that what happened with certain other individuals that I'll get to? But let's talk about Sandi Annabi first. Sandi Annabi is actually a cousin of Mr. Zehy Jereis. And she was, like Tasha Diaz, the majority leader. 2 terms she served, the former Democratic majority leader, before going to prison for 6 years. Wow, that's a long time. That's a long time. People, and I spoke to Zehy about this in one of our conversations. I'll get to in a second. He has this influence over people, it seems, that maybe come from poverty or didn't come from a lot and, maybe looking to kind of get ahead. And he knows how to utilize individuals like that, right? He knows how to tell them what they want to hear. And that's what he even said about Tasha Diaz when I met with him. I love seeing people, go from nothing to something, and helping them get there. That's what he said. He had this thing for her. I really care about her a lot. I care. I do. So I asked him, did you influence or did you, tell her how to vote in regards to the affordable housing ordinance? He said, no, I never tell, my candidates how to vote or whatever. I let them make their own decision. But it may have been what the mayor might have said to them in the meeting just before the vote. So did the mayor influence Tasha Diaz and her flip-flops? I don't know, right? Well, maybe Zehy isn't the devil, right? And quite possibly but he might quite possibly be a narcissist and a great manipulator. 2 traits normally viewed as negatively. He has managed to use that to his advantage. And if you pay attention, you will see a pattern of his manipulative behavior. I mean, after all, Sandi Annabi may have been his first political victim, but it wasn't the only. And it's not going to be his last, if you ask me. His first, as I already mentioned, is 2-term former Democratic majority leader Tasha Diaz. I'm sorry, I meant Sandi Annabi, Freudian slip, who through money and gifts influenced her about face in opposition in the opposition that she had to the Ridge Hill project before it was developed. She was adamantly against it. And, she was no. But then she changed her mind, and that drew a lot of suspicion. According to New York Times and the prosecutors, Sandi Annabi received almost $200,000, which was passed to Annabi from Jereis using an attorney by the name of Anthony Mangone. This included a Mercedes lease, cable and phone bills being paid, student loan payments were being covered, all gifts from a man who fell in love at first sight, according to Zehy himself. He said he was in love with her. He saw her and right away, he was head over heels. He said he loved her, although he was married, right? Funny, he expressed the same endearing feeling towards Tasha Diaz, the current Democratic majority leader. I just think that's funny, who was hoping for a second term come next year. However, the judge did not buy Zehy's love at first sight defense or Miss Annabi's defense of not knowing and being naive. She said, being naive and not knowing a law doesn't, give you the right to break that law, right? So, that wasn't a defense. And the judge did not buy Mr. Zehy Jereis' I'm in love with her. I fell in love with her the first time I saw her in this blue summer dress. That's what he said. He saw her in a summer dress, a blue summer dress, and he fell in love right away. Love at first sight. But he was married, the man. So why is he falling in love with his cousin? I think that was BS, right? But that was his defense, that he was falling in love. The judge didn't buy it, however, and sentenced Zehy Jereis to 4 years in federal prison. Sandi Annabi was sentenced to 6 years. And for some reason, I thought she only had, was sentenced to 2 years. I don't know why in my mind, I had 2 years. And for whatever reason, she's like, I'm realizing this for the first time. And I said, she did 6 years and he only did 4 years? Wow. Like I said, both were found guilty. But what's interesting, as I mentioned, that Sandi Annabi got 6 years while Zehy only got 4 years. This really pissed off a lot of people in the Jordanian community, many who still do not want anything to do with Zehy Jereis, do not want him around at all. I guess he hangs with the Spanos because the Arabic community just won't accept him. I mean, after all, he has done this to other Jordanians who are related to him, i.e. Mike Cater, right? Zehy Jereis is also cousins with former city council president Mike Cater, who he helped get elected. He did. And for that, Mike Cater trusted him, believed in him, wanted to go with his strategy. This is the political genius here, as he's been described by several people. And Mike Cater maybe now realizes that, or I don't say maybe, he does realize that that was a mistake. That was a mistake. But anyway, he helped him get in to office as a city council president, beating Liam McLaughlin, the current inspector general, right? Now he's helping Liam McLaughlin, Zehy Jereis, with a bogus investigation into Mike Cater, his cousin. So essentially, Zehy Jereis is the reason why Mike Cater is no longer city council president. After helping him get into office, he helped the Spanos get rid of Mike Cater, his own flesh and blood. So why did he destroy Cater? Well, because unlike the current city council president, who Jereis helped put into office also, Mike Cater would not approve all these zoning changes or moved fast enough when it came to the Ludlow project. He also did not understand why the city of Yonkers residents, the taxpayers, had to foot the bill for the study for the Ludlow project. He also would have never introduced the legislation to extend the term limits for another time in only 4 years. That's exactly what the current city council president, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, did. She did it all alone, unlike the last time, which was introduced by at least 2 council members. This time it was Collins all alone. And so why did she do it? And I'll get into that in a minute, right? So they had to get rid of Mike Cater, and they did, because the Spanos needed assurances. They needed to give their developer clients assurances that the housing ordinance at 20% would not pass, the housing ordinance that Mike Cater altered. They also needed assurances that they would have someone friendly to them in the office of mayor of the city of Yonkers. And so they needed to make sure the housing ordinance was killed and that this legislation to extend the term limits would be introduced and also would pass. And that's who they got in there. Replacing Mike Cater with Miss Bellamy, who had no problem doing what others would not do. But why? Like Sandi Annabi, Miss Bellamy grew up poor and in a rough environment. And as I mentioned before, Zehy Jereis preys on people or people's vulnerabilities. That's what a narcissist does. Again, seducing with the tongue, manipulating the decisions made by the city council president, in my opinion, and in the opinion of others. It's the same hustle. Influence elected officials on behalf of developers and lobbyists like Empire Strategic Planning. ESP is using Zehy Jereis, in my humble opinion, to do its influencing of elected officials. He is skilled in the seduction of the tongue, especially with individuals seeking a way out and a lift up, up the ladder of success. So when the developers had concerns of the new affordable housing ordinance, the one Mike Cater introduced along with Shanae Williams, I got to say that, but he altered it, right? They needed it to die. They needed guarantees that it would not pass. That's where the majority leader and majority whip, the current majority leader and the current majority whip came in. They received these titles after they killed the housing ordinance. John Rubio changed his vote. He was for it. That was surprising. And then he went back to being against it. Tasha Diaz killed it when she flip-flopped at the last minute, at the 11th hour, and decided that she no longer was in support of the affordable housing ordinance. But why? Right? Why? Zehy is Tasha's handler, right, so to speak. So she's going to do what he says. He got her in there. Tasha Diaz would never have became an elected official, let alone majority leader, if it were not for Zehy Jereis, which is something he's done time and time again. You saw him with Mike Cater, getting him elected over Liam McLaughlin, who had the support of the Spanos at the time, a Republican, had the machine behind him. Yet and still, Zehy Jereis managed to get Mike Cater, the first Jordanian city council president, elected. And now he was going to get the first black female, or maybe even black city council president elected. And that's exactly what he did with Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, using the same strategy of identity politics. And that's important because moving forward, we can no longer get involved in this identity politics stuff. It's gotten us into trouble. We're human beings, all of us, and we love the city of Yonkers. Tasha Diaz, isn't as smart as Sandi Annabi. However, Sandi Annabi is, pretty smart. She comes from a family that, her brother does well. He's an attorney, and he's doing very well. Very intelligent people. However, Tasha, on the other hand, isn't. And quite possibly all those who have done Zehy's bidding at this point are not smart. Look at what has happened in the past. Look at what has happened to individuals who have surrounded themselves with Zehy Jereis, who have believed or taken Zehy Jereis's advice. Where has that led them? And many of you are still involved with him currently. Because at the end of the day, right, you just want to get ahead, right? I just want to win. I just want to be this. I just want to get that, right? Here we have two Democrats, women of color, Sandi Annabi and Tasha Diaz, because this is the same situation here as the Tasha Diaz thing is the same situation as the Sandi Annabi Ridge Hill deal. Same thing, same exact thing, same thing. You have two Democrat women of color, majority leaders, both reversing on decisions they seem to be so passionate about or sure of. While Sandi made sense on the council, Ms. Diaz does not, easily exposing the BS for what it is. And because of that, as well as the fact that in the world God created, all good things must come to an end. So this is going to be over. The individuals that they have there now, Zehy Jereis is put in there now, are so obviously corrupted. They're bad. They're bad at lying. I mean, they do things like call people beggars live, city council meetings, during important votes, like the term limit extension, with a packed house. She sits there for 10 minutes yelling at constituents. That was not smart, Tasha. How did you become the majority leader? Zehy Jereis. Zehy Jereis. I warn people on my podcast and in conversations to be careful of what they did and who they did it with. Zehy has a history of destroying those around him. And why would it be different this time? What is different this time is people have had it. That's the difference this time. It's at a all new boiling point now. Everyone is coming out to speak out and give me information. So I think this is it, folks. I think this is the time that change truly happens. I don't see Mike Spano winning next year. I don't really see him at all. And I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But there's a lot that's happened, and there's more stuff that's going to happen that's just going to make it very difficult for Mike Spano to win. Being connected to a man like Zehy Jereis is going to cost the Spanos. It's a fact. He's going to bring them down just as he has everyone else. The judge in the Sandi and Annabi trial, and I want to read some of the quotes that she said. I thought they were very interesting. Actually, did I skip some pages? Because I think I might have. The judge in the Sandi and Annabi trial made some, she said a few things that I thought, were very important for me to read. And this should resonate with a lot of people, especially now here in the city of Yonkers. She spoke about corruption, right? And she said something that I think is very, very important. Skip these notes. I'm just going to go to this. Her name was Colleen McMahon. She said that, she told Annabi this actually, that Annabi had made a Freud, I can't even read that out of my handwriting. A Freudian bargain. Oh, here, a Faustian bargain. I'm sorry, I was reading it wrong. She made a Faustian bargain. This is what the judge told Sandi and Annabi, and this is very important. And I want, if anything out of this podcast, for those elected officials, John Rubo, Tasha Diaz, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, Ada Medina, a lot of these candidates. Listen to this. If anything else, this is what Judge Colleen McMahon said. I may have said the last name wrong. She said that Sandi and Annabi made a Faustian bargain, if I may be saying that word wrong. And that comes from Christian tradition and Christian belief that people sell it's basically saying you're selling your soul to the devil. Right? A Faustian bargain is people would make deals with the devil, sell their souls to the devil for diabolical favors. And in this case, she's saying that you wanted money, you wanted these cars or these properties or whatever, and you made a deal with the devil, Zehy Jereis, and that's going to come back. And that's ultimately what many of you are doing. You're making a deal with the devil, and that will come back to bite you in the ass. She went on to tell Annabi, and again, I hope you guys are listening to this very, very clearly, that Annabi opened herself up to the possibilities that he, Zehy Jereis, would someday ask for her to do him a favor. So by accepting the gifts, because she was saying that, her defense was that, she was just naive, that she didn't know any better. She was just taking the, stuff, the guy's giving me money. I'm going to take it. He's paying my bills. I'm going to take it. Right. I mean, why stop him? Right. Why stop him? Right. And so, but she now saw the error in her ways. But what the judge said was, in you accepting those gifts, you opened yourself up to one day Zehy Jereis coming back and asking for a favor. Hey, remember those bills I paid? Hey, remember that, car I leased for you? Now there's a bill coming up that I need you to be against. And I know that you were all for it in the beginning, for the past however long, but now I need you to be against it, because whether it be developers or whoever is giving money to Mr. Zehy Jereis, which is what he's been accused of before as well, in order to get that elected official to see things his way or their way. And that's what he did, essentially, with the Ridge Hill deal. And essentially, that's what the judge believed happened, which is why she convicted Sandi and Annabi and sentenced her to 6 years, and convicted Zehy, sentencing him to 4 years. You accepted this, and now you owed a favor. And you had to return that favor. And that favor was to flip-flop on your vote on the Ridge Hill thing. And while you may say that you didn't know any better, you were naive, it's still not a defense for breaking the law. It's, now, if you're parking too close to a stop sign or fire hydrant, that, that should be a defense. You don't know. Or let's put the marker, because I got a ticket one time. And I said, well, I don't know how far. The judge told me 30 feet, just in case you want to know. You got to be 30 feet away from a stop sign and fire hydrant. There you go. Now you know. So you can't break that law. But the judge says not knowing, being naive is not a defense. It's not. And so to our current majority leader, city council president, and all of the council members and other elected officials, judges that may have been helped by Zehy Jereis or Precision Strategies, Anyone engaging in any political activity with precision strategies and Zehy Jereis may want to think about what you're doing, because you're not going to be able to say, I didn't know that was illegal, Judge, Your Honor, when that day comes. And that day will come. A lot has been done. And again, all good things must come to an end. So it's quite suspicious when an individual like Zehy Jereis would run candidates for judges. Why would he get involved in judges' race? He got involved with the Dan Romano race, Ada Medina, and that got nasty because Zehy Jereis had his handprints or footprints or fingerprints all over that one. And so when someone wanted to challenge Ada, it got ugly. When anyone challenges Zehy Jereis and the Spanos, who he so dearly loves, they will get retaliated on. They will have, they will be attacked. They will have, negative stories written about them on these crazy pages. They will utilize people like the Yonkers Voice, Ruros, or Brian Harrod and Frankie Jereis, who run the Yonkers Newswire. Yonkers Times now, Dan Murphy. Although he doesn't get nasty, but he helps create a narrative. He helps create a false perception on behalf of individuals like Zehy and the Spanos, really. Maybe Vinny Spano and Zehy Jereis. Maybe Nick, Mike, and them don't know. I don't know. Somebody of them, one of them know. They know what's going on, right? So that's what he has done time and time again. And when Mike Cater would not go along with it, it was time for him to go. Tasha Diaz has no problems going along with it. I mean, she loves it. She's the majority leader now. And if Zehy has his way, she will become the next city council president once Lakeisha Collins Bellamy becomes city court judge. That's what he said. Told me this out of his own mouth. Right? And so they are going to do what they need to do to get there. You help me get there, Zehy. I do what you want me to do for you. You want me to kill the housing ordinance? Cool. You want me to introduce legislation so Mayor Spano could run again? Cool. And look at what happens. My family members get jobs. I get promotions. We make more money. We're happy. But the city of Yonkers isn't. And that's a problem. And so this is why I wanted to do this again, because I want to remind people, the individuals that are in control here in the city of Yonkers, you can't just look at Mike Spano when you're talking, about term limit extension, or the city council president, Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, who introduced it. You have to understand why it happened. You have to understand the players that are not often seen, but are most definitely heard, that are operating in the shadows. And it's important to know why our city council president would introduce that, why Tasha Diaz would kill that affordable housing when her constituents would greatly benefit from it. They benefited greatly from her getting that pass. They suffer greatly from it because she helped kill it. She helped Mike Spano ensure that it would not pass because she didn't want to go against the mayor. He vetoed it. That's it. I don't care if I like it or not. If I don't care if I'm for it or not, I don't go against Daddy Mike. I don't go against Daddy Mike. And so, screw the people. Just keep my hand good. That's right. Kidding BS corrupt Spano. It's called corruption, 1000%. It is corruption, and it is blatant corruption in our face, and it's obvious. Hello. Right? And I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying to the people who are supposed to check this, who are supposed to come and investigate this. It is obvious and blatant. There's enough there for investigations to be warranted. I mean, look at what they investigated Mike Cater for and what circumstantial evidence they had. What was that Ron Matten letter? That was the evidence? Oh, no. Was it the Tribune article and the Ron Matten letter? What was the circumstantial evidence there, city council? I mean, to the 6 of you, or the 6, 7? How many of you guys are? The ones who signed it. Right? It's 5 of you guys, 6 of you guys. What was the evidence, the circumstantial evidence that you saw that you felt there was an investigation needed? And that you would send your boy, Mike Cater, because some of you were up in his house. Tasha, you was up in his house. You guys are Democrats. You're supposed to stick together, right? You're Democrats, but you threw him to the wolves, to the Republican, Liam McLaughlin, who was his arch nemesis. He beat Liam, remember, for city council president? He's a Republican. He's just dying to tear up Mike Cater. And you gave it to him. You gave Mike Cater to them. You fed him to the wolves. You put some, hot sauce on it. Some barbecue sauce. Made it good, right? And so that was done because you guys knew it was time to get rid of Cater. Because even if, there might be something there, why not say, okay, let's talk. Let's huddle up, Democrats. You know what I'm saying? Let's huddle up. Let's see what's going on here. Let's not throw him to the wolves, to the Republican. He's going to, right? Any other else, that makes sense, right? You wouldn't do that to your friend, the guy that's on your team, right? You're going to throw him to the other team. And why is even the other team there? Why did we even appoint this guy from the other team to be the Inspector General? Think about it, folks. Think about it, right? Think about it. Think about it. And so Liam McLaughlin lost to Mike Cater. And that's the Spanos boy. I mean, Vinny has told me that many times in our conversation. Liam's my boy. He said it just like that. Liam's my boy. I never go against Liam. He said it just like that. Liam's my boy. I can't go against Liam. And so they wanted to make sure they took care of Liam. So they put him into Inspector General position. Because at the end of the day, the Spanos are really Republicans. At the end of the day, John Rubel is really a Republican. And to be quite honest, folks, and I'm not trying to make this about race, what I'm saying is that I believe they're a little racist. They are. And I believe what they're doing is basically not intentionally, to be racist, but who gives a shit about the blacks and Hispanics? That's what it's kind of like that. Like, who cares? Like, yeah, we're going to develop that area. Screw it. Either you sink or swim. That's what it is. Right. And it's kind of like that for most people, really. But the area that's being impacted primarily with all these luxury developments and the people that are being pushed out primarily are blacks and Hispanics. And they doesn't really care. They don't really care. And look what they did to the women. If I were Vinny Spano, I would say, hold on. I can't let y'all look. Come on. Guys, let's, right? I would have. Why did Mike Ramadelli have to come in? He's a deputy clerk. What happened to the first clerk, to the main clerk? Right? He's just there with his mouth open, looking like he was choking on something, right? He couldn't believe what was happening, or was that just, he was just acting, right? Because he knew that when he wanted that to happen. They wanted, look at the black people. Look at the black people. That's why we can never elect black people again, okay? Make sure we don't vote for any more black people. That's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do, 1,000%. 1,000%, right? So they're racist. They're racist, and you can see in the actions that it's racial, right? They don't care. They use the black people, the Latina woman and the black people for what they needed, and now, boom, we did the dirty work with them. Now let's make them look silly, and let's tell people secretly, because I'm hearing this from several people now. At least three people told me that people are being told if they don't vote for Spano, they're gonna have, black people take over the government, right? And look at what the black people look like. Tasha Diaz, right? So thank you, Tasha. Thank you. Because my wife is definitely not like you. Definitely not. Too different. I mean, nothing alike, right? Like, I don't understand why people think because this person's black and that person's black, that they're going to have something in common. They're supposed to have something in common. I mean, it's not how it works. Not how it works, right? If that guy's Puerto Rican, I'm Puerto Rican, we may not like each other because we're just two different people. I don't care if he's Puerto Rican. I'm not going to dislike him. So this identity politics, got to, stop that. But that's what they did, essentially. So thank you, Tasha. Thank you. Thank you. You represent black women everywhere. And look how you represented us. Thank you. I say us. Like I'm just saying my wife. Look how you represent it. Horrible. 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 They don't have enough tomorrow, not promised, Mike. Listen, folks, who gonna investigate? I believe they investigate. In my strong opinion, and I'm not saying this because this is what just people are saying. I have a little more than just, what people are saying, right? So from that, not from what people have just been saying. I'm talking about from other things that I know that they're investigating. Like, right? So they're looking into this. I mean, it's just too much. It's just too much. You don't think that they're not paying attention to Tasha Diaz flip-flopping? Lakeisha Collins Bellamy coming out of nowhere to defeat Mike Cater? You don't think that they don't know Zehy Jereis is involved in Yonkers politics? You don't think that they don't know that Zehy Jereis is involved in some of these judges' races? They know 1,000%. So they watching. They're just waiting to catch you because they need to, they have to get something to they could just say it like this, but that doesn't mean that the judge is going to say you're guilty, right? So there has to be, they got, and they're getting there. And that's what they're working on, I believe. It's not going to last. I've seen this is why I never got involved in illegal stuff, because I've seen this play out too many times before, right? Like, and I did tell dudes, dude, like, you didn't see what happened, before, to this dude? Like, you're going to do the same thing? Oh, you're going to be different, right? Why? Because you're a different person, so it's the same thing. It's played out before. And I think that it's gone to a certain point where it's like, okay. And, like I said, look at the Tasha Diaz flip-flop, becoming majority leader. Lakeisha Collins Bellamy coming out of nowhere. She's connected to Macy. You got Wilson Kimball in there, and James Kavanaugh's around. I mean, they were already investigated by the Inspector General, right, for fraud and money, misappropriation of funds and all that stuff, and making suspicious donations to organizations that had nothing to do with, Battery Park Authority where they worked at the time. Like, one of the donations they made was to the Yonkers Puerto Rican Day Parade organization back then. Like, why would James Kavanaugh, a guy who, who's managing the president or whatever of Battery Park City Authority down in the tip of Manhattan, southern tip, be making donations to the Yonkers Puerto Rican Day Parade, whatever organization? That was suspicious. It was so suspicious that they made it a point to write that in the report, right? So all these characters you have that are working together, and they see all the zoning changes happening. That's gonna alert people. That's gonna definitely alert people to to something's up. Something is up. Something. That's Mr. Zehy Jereis. This guy's suing me for $1 million because I am speaking about what's already public. It's already public. And if it wasn't public, he told me this information. Like, he spoke to me. He's the one that told me that the mayor met with the council just before they went into that vote, the housing vote. So what did the mayor say to them? And why was the mayor meeting with them just before they're supposed to go in to vote for this housing ordinance that he vetoed, right? So they're going into vote to override his veto, quite possibly, and he's going to meet with them beforehand. What did he say? You better not overwrite my shit. You better not overwrite my shit. You don't have the problem. All right, like, what did he say? This is what Zehy Jereis said. Because I asked him, I said, did you get Tasha to flip-flop? He goes, no, I don't, I don't tell my candidates how to decide. Maybe it was what the mayor said. I don't know if you're trying to throw the mayor. You're probably trying to tell me that so I can say that right on the low. Because I know Zehy would love to probably get Nader Sage elected. He would have more control. Right? He would have a lot more control. So I think that he would really prefer that. But he understands how powerful Nick Spano is, how, and the Spano family is. And, Nick Spano has a lot of connections to these developers. And so, he's got to kind of, play it right. But ideally, he would love to be able to maintain a good relationship with Nick Spano and have, Nader Sage as mayor. Ideally, that's what he would like to have. And Nader, how do you feel? I mean, you're also one of the individuals that's probably have, been affected negatively by your relationship with Zehy Jereis. I would, in my opinion, I would say, right? I mean, you're not going to be mayor. You thought you were going to be mayor. You were sold that dream. The whole Jordanian community is divided, guys. Does Zehy Jereis come to church anymore? I ain't see you at church, Jay. I ain't see you at church, Zay. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they're divided. It's divided communities and families, literally. Right? And people are still angered by what this guy did. He got Sandi and Annabi taken down. She did 6 years while this chump did 4 years. Like, you should have took that, Zehy. Come on, yo. And he says, right? He says to the judge, I would have done anything for her. He said, I would have done anything to help her, even lie under oath. Why would you say that while you in court under oath? Come on, man. Like he's almost throwing her out under the bus, basically saying like, you know, I'm lying here because of her. She's the mastermind, kind of almost like that's kind of what he was trying to do. He's trying to push it mostly on her. So I don't know, why did she get more? Because she was the elected official, or you know, maybe Zehy, you know, I don't know. But you know, he came back out. He's back out. He's back to his old tricks, except now he's involved with the Democratic Party. But he's still up to his old tricks, folks. He's still manipulating candidates. He's still causing candidates to flip-flop on their votes. He's running judges. And that's another issue with the judge thing is that it was also alleged that he received $10,000 to make a case go away. A case for some guy just disappeared, and he got $10,000 for that, allegedly. So if, again, like the judge, Colleen McMahon or whatever said, receiving those gifts, like she said to Sandi and Annabi, opened you up to now having to do a favor if you were asked by Zehy. So Ada Medina, Dan Romano, and you know what's crazy? Ada Medina is a judge in the housing thing, right? In the tenant court thing. She's listed at, I've seen her name on some of these eviction notices. Wow. That just kind of hit me. I don't know why that just hit me. That should have hit me alone. That should have hit. Wow, Zehy. You're doing all kinds of schemes. So you got Ada Medina in there, right? So Ada, he helped you out. You're going to do favors for him? Probably so. You're probably doing favors for him right now with these eviction cases that are coming up before you. Wow. I'm telling you, when the feds come and finally break this up and crack this is going to be the biggest political corruption, thing that you're going to probably have seen. I mean, since probably Watergate. Now it's going to be bigger. Like, this is going to be bigger than Watergate. I mean, because it's been for so long and it was so deep and it involved a lot of people and there was a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, it'd be a great series on Netflix. And I'm just waiting for Netflix to reach out to me because I got all the info Netflix. We can start writing a screenplay. Let's do it. I got the title and everything for the show. Netflix, got my email on the page. Anyway, folks, I'm out of here. That's the corruption trial of 2012. So just to recap, basically, Mr. Zehy Jereis, the man that you see here on my computer screen, he was the former chair of the Republican Party here in the city of Yonkers, former chairman of the Yonkers GOP. He was asked to step down by former mayor Phil Amacone when he was indicted and when these charges of corruption were first announced back in 2010, I believe. And so he stepped down. He went to court. Sandi and Annabi was his co-defendant. Sandi and Annabi was the two-term Democratic majority leader at the time, also a member of the Jordanian community, as is Zehy Jereis. She opposed the Rich Hill development deal, and then she didn't. And then she supported it, and it passed. It came to light that Zehy Jereis had been giving her gifts to the tune of almost $200,000, which included paying a lease for a Mercedes, paying student loans, paying cable and phone bills, buying property. But Zehy Jereis tried to use the defense that he was in love with her. It was gifts from a man who was in love with a woman who was infatuated. In fact, that's the exact word that was used. He had an infatuation. The man was married and still is to the same woman. And this is what he's saying to get out of this sticky situation. He wanted to worm and weasel his way out of it. So he was willing to throw anybody under the bus and embarrass his own family rather than take it like a man. Because he's a chump. I've seen him shake. All I wanted him to do was put my phone number in his phone. Relax, buddy. But this is what punks do. They send other people to do their dirty work. They have other people do their bidding. They throw people under the bus. Doesn't matter if it's someone from their own community or someone from their own family. He's done both on more than one occasion. Why he's not been officially ousted by the Jordanian community is beyond me. There are some members of the, Arabic community that still associate with this man. Nader Sage being one of them. But again, this man got Sandi Annabi, the former Yonkers majority leader for city council, sent to jail for 6 years after he bribed her with gifts that he said were love gifts after he fell in love with her at first sight when he saw her in a blue summer dress. That's right, it was a blue summer dress. He was head over heels in love at first sight. And from then on, he would have done anything to help her out and make her happy. And that included paying her Mercedes lease, student loan payments, and other bills, as well as property. However, Sandi Annabi never once did she ever say that he was in love with her, she was in love with him, or there was any relationship between them. There wasn't. That was a lie. In fact, he even fabricated emails to suggest that they were having some kind of a affair or relationship. However, he was sloppy. In one of the fabricated emails, he forgot to put the date. It was a dateless email. But even if it had the date, silly Billy gumdrops, they still can check the IP and they can go and see what action or activity has been going on and when. They can see when those emails were actually sent, or if they were even sent at all, which they weren't. You just created them. The judge didn't buy any of it. Lover boy, you're lying. Sent him to jail for 4 years. Sandi Annabi, on the other hand, the beautiful politician that had everything going for her, broke out of poverty to be the Yonkers City Council majority leader. A minority woman. It's always family that does it to you, Sandi. I know that all too well. Especially when you're a minority. I don't know why. How about you white people? You guys have these family issues too? Italians? Irish? Is it your family that's trying to take you down? She said, I didn't know I couldn't accept these gifts. He was offering them to me, so I just took them. I mean, why would I say no to someone who's willing to pay my bills? I mean, he's willing to lease me a Mercedes. I'm taking it. But Sandi, he was married. And that should have been a no-no. And you're a smart woman. And my gut, I have to believe that you knew exactly what you were doing. And there are a lot of people that I respect, Sandi Annabi, that say you were bamboozled. You were led astray. Zehy Jereis is the great influencer and manipulator, and he completely had you under a spell. I just cannot buy that. Simply because my gut won't let me, but because my brain also will not let me. As smart as you are, because I believe you're smart, and I've never met you, but I believe you're smart. You knew that accepting anything from this man meant that he was going to want something from you. You didn't think you were going to harm anyone by it. There were no victims here. And so, what's it going to hurt? And you went and you did it. And you tried to justify it by getting some concessions for the city of Yonkers, right? Because she did. She got something for it from the developers. From sources, I hear she got an additional $10 million for the Yonkers public schools, although it didn't state that specifically in the articles I've read. It just said she got some concessions for the city of Yonkers. That was her way of justifying it, being able to close her eyes at night and said, well, at least I did something right. And I get it. We've all had these temptations. I'm not perfect, Sandi. I've made mistakes too. And the judge believed exactly what I believed and thought the same thing and did not buy the naive, not knowing defense. She believed that Sandi knew exactly what she was doing. And by engaging in this activity and by accepting the gifts, she opened herself up to having to do a favor if Mr. Zehy Jereis asked. And asked he did. He needed her to change her vote. At this point, almost $200,000 in. I guess now you do the right thing. The irony. I got to do the favor back. It's the right thing. And it cost you. It cost you almost 6 years of your life in federal prison and being labeled a felon for the rest of your life. And what's really like sad about it is that you were a shining star. You were headed to the top. And Zehy knew that. So he latched on, the slithery snake he is, and wrapped himself around your leg. But ultimately, he will pull you down. Pull you down. But he didn't go anywhere. You did. You disappeared. Zehy Jereis is back at it again here in the city of Yonkers. Now, involved in the Yonkers Democratic Committee, the official Democratic Party here in the city of Yonkers. That is chaired by Mr. Thomas Meyer, Commissioner of DPW. So Zehy now has the power to get jobs. Zehy controls those jobs. So when my cousin was told he was going to get a job if he paid $8,000, that was a game that Zehy Jereis was playing because he wanted to fuck with me. But you didn't. My cousin didn't even care, Zehy. He didn't care. But your cousins care. They're pissed off at what you did. And karma's a bitch, Big Z, Mr. ABC. And it's going to come back. And this time, you're not going to just get the 4 years. It's going to be worse because you should have done more the time before. You should have took it all. You should have said it was all me. She had nothing to do with it. That's a real man, Zehy. But you're not a real man. You pull women down. And Tasha Diaz is going down because of you, Zehy, in my God-honest opinion. And we are going to see the Zehy Jereis Sandi Annabi trial of 2012 2.0 very soon. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics, Unfiltered. This is the guy that sued me for $1 million because he is upset that I do these podcasts. But guy, I want you up out of Yonkers politics. And I'm not going to stop. You had an opportunity to keep me very busy with my daycare center. But you chose to play a game with a guy that's unlike anyone you have been matched with before. And I know you're connected. It's time to detach those connections. Folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez, Basement Politics. Next year, we got to come out and vote. This man has done this to this woman. Look at this woman on the left there. I don't know if it's on your left or on mine. He's done it to his other cousin, Mike Cater. And I'm afraid he will be doing the same to Tasha Diaz. Lakeisha Collins Bellamy, I don't think you're going to get that judge job at this point. It's too hot. And that's going to piss you off. It's not going to happen anytime soon. It's too hot. You guys are hot. Hot, hot, hot. Under the microscope. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics. Breaking up corruption here in the city of Yonkers. It's about mother time.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
Happy Tuesday. Who's going to the special meeting today? Sure is special.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
Zehy Jereis' son, Frankie Jereis, has been outed as a administrator on the Yonkers Newswire, a page co-run by Brian Harrod. Brian Harrod is a man whose nasty and disgusting low-life reputation precedes him. A man that does nothing all day but sit on his ass, being taken care of by the taxpayers here in the city of Yonkers. Expect him to put out a post about me today. I spoke about Zehy Jereis, and I spoke about him. I spoke about Ruros, who I was told someone he would not help me if I was dying on the street. Well, that's good to know, because I would have helped you. But now I'm going to move on and keep it going. You won't help me. You said it yourself. Actually, I would help you even still. You know why? Because God would not be so kind to me if I walked by you. Although you are not deserving of my help, I don't do it for you. I do it for God. You are disgusting and nasty. And I just had a conversation with an individual. Again, the individual I know that knows more of your victims. You're working alongside this guy, Zehy Jereis, to try and make me look bad, to try and ruin my wife's reputation and embarrass my wife. And for that, you will pay. And I will never forgive you. You awoken a beast like you never seen, Ruros. And stop trying to convince people not to speak with me. The difference between you and I is that I'm actually a person that people like. I'm genuinely here to help. You are an opportunist. You exploit situations, people's negative situations, tragic, traumatic situations for your own benefit. You attack women. When you've attacked my wife, you've shown that you attack women. You have harassed people. You have a history of harassment. It's documented by the Yonkers Police Department, and I have people that will come and say, yeah, that man was harassing me. And I mean, it stretches for years, folks. It does go back 30 years to his karate school, but it's still going. The man is filth, and like Zehy Jereis, they both need to get up out of here. Take Brian Harrod with you. That's the change we need. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics. I'm not playing. I'm serious. I'm dead serious about this. Ruros, I'm dead serious about this. What you did to my wife is something, honestly, that would have created a big problem for you. But I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics. People know me. I have to be chill. Trust me. That's why I've been chill. But I'm going to get you because I can't let it go until I get my justice. Until I get the justice for those young girls who you exploited and mistreated, took away, their innocence, violated their trust, the trust that their parents gave you. And for that, you will burn in hell.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
I am Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. It's time to get the garbage out of the city, where the sanitation guys are. That's it. People like Zehy Jereis, Brian Harrod, Ruros, who do such disgusting things and throw people under the bus, who try and destroy people, make up lies about people, are people that I cannot stand. And I don't want no parts of them. I don't want them nowhere near me. But I got some business to finish up with you, Ru. Absolutely do. Best believe it ain't done. But we gonna finish it up. I guarantee you that. And I don't mean violence. No one's gonna physically do anything to you. No one's going to your house. Nothing like that. You did something wrong, and you will pay in the courts for it. You're gonna pay. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Couldn't even look me in the eye that day and tell me that I was lying. You're the liar. And I have witnesses there see it all over your face. And tell your boy Zehy he should be paying you more because you're gonna need it. Zehy, you're gonna have to pay for Ruros' lawyer and your sons.
Freddy.
NYU. Can you please tell Frankie Jereis to stop harassing me and my family? NYU, are you listening? New York University Law School, you listening?
Freddy wins.
Anyone that works for the city DPW that took the supervisor test but has yet to get placed in a supervisor position, anyone, please reach out to me. Even if you do it anonymously, say I'm one of those people. I've taken the supervisor test and I've yet to get a supervisor position.
Freddy wins.
Let me know about it. I want to know. Say you're gonna be in court, you're gonna sue me, you're gonna win? I don't even care if you win. I really don't care. I really don't care. Did you really lose 150 pounds? Were you really 400 pounds, Zehy? He said he lost 150 pounds just to try and look good for Sandi and Annabi. This man was married. And you know what's messed up, Mayor? Mayor Mike Spano, you know what's messed up? The mayor publicly, congratulated Frankie Jereis on getting into NY Law School, right? The mayor, Mayor Mike Spano. And he gave the credit to Zehy Jereis, who was MIA for 4 years of the kid's life. What about the mom, Mike? What about the mom? I mean, she's the one actually going to work every day, not scamming people. Or is she? I don't know. I'm up out of here. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Have a beautiful and blessed day. I keep going and going and going and going and going and going and going.
Fatality.
I'm going to take away what you guys took away.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
Ada Medina works in the tenant thing where they're doing all the evictions. Her name is on some of these eviction notices. Ada, how do you feel, man, for your name to be on these evictions? I feel like crap. I mean, look, and you got there because of Zehy Jereis, right? So is Zehy Jereis, telling you, yo, make sure these certain people get kicked out because this is the properties of my guys, the guys that are paying me under the table. I'm just saying, I don't know if this is happening. I'm not saying it is. I'm just giving you a scenario that could quite possibly be happening, right? It could be, if we're thinking about corruption, right? If it's corruption, then he gets his judge into the tenant thing, then his developer friends, You know who you guys are. And I reached out to one of his developer friends. I got a house for sale. You ain't respond to me. Well, you don't want to talk to me now? It's not between me and you. It's between me and Zehy, man. Come on. We cool. You don't want to buy it? Anyway, let me know if you want to buy it. Still, right? So his developer buddies say, hey, I need these people out. All right, I'm going to call up the building department. Hey, go over there and got you. Go over there. Then they look for everything, anything that they can give these tenants violations for. Then they even give the violations to the owner of the building. But that's BS, right? So that's just a way they can say, well, look, they have these violations. It's unhealthy. It's unsafe. You got to get out. Right? Or they have these eviction things. Oh, you got to get out. But people are also being evicted because they haven't paid rent. But they haven't paid rent because the freaking apartment that they live in is in such bad condition that they don't feel like they should pay. And the reason why they don't just move is because it's just not that easy nowadays. It's really not. It's really not. And so that's the game. You got your judge in there. You got your guys at the building department. Got your people, your developer buddies that give you the money. I mean, what do you really do? You have one gas station, some property. That's got you a house in Scarsdale. Come on, folks. Please, let's really think about this.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken. So thank you.
You and Zehy could go and eat some butter chicken together. I'm sure you'll like it.
Freddy
I'm up out of here. I'm Freddy Vazquez. Peace out.